not going to jump up on me? We're supposed to have you jump up to start this video. This is my buddy Romeo, and in this video we're going to go over some tips that you can use if you have a dog that likes to jump up on guests at the door. I'm going to have our cameraman step back about 4 or 5 steps, and Romeo, come here buddy. Alright, so what typically happens when people come into your house, dogs normally jump up on each other as a greeting. That's a normal greeting, it's what they should do. We say the dog is bad for jumping up on our guests, but bad implies morality. When a dog jumps up on a guest, it's doing what is normal for a dog. If you don't want your dog to jump up on you or your guest, you need to teach and train them what you want them to do. Punishing and correcting your dog for making mistakes is not the same thing as punishing them. So in this video, I want to kind of cover some of those tips. Now, the Guardians here have a nice baby gate, and that can prevent Romeo, well, although he can go all the way around, but I'm assuming you guys close it down. All right, so Romeo. So when I first came in, the dogs were on a leash. What I would recommend is leaving the dogs off leash. Now, number one, I talked off camera, a lot of us don't realize that we can set our dogs up for success or set them up to fail. Having a high energy dog like a Vizsla and not exercising them is probably gonna cause them to have some behavior issues. Now the Guardian here takes the dogs out for 2 walks, but if we walk them before somebody comes to the home, we can take off some of that top level of energy. So a way to set your dog up for success, and we have Romeo and Juliet in this house. What great names. Juliet is an older dog, and she comes from a puppy mill, so she has some fear-based issues. She's not a jumper. Romeo is 5 or 6, or 5? Yeah, and so he's really got a lot of energy and oomph, and he likes to jump up on people. So I would probably take Romeo out for a game of fetch, take him out for a sniff walk, whatever it is. He just needs 10 minutes to recover before he arrives. Now, I'm going to set this video up kind of for the, because we're going to have some guests coming over for the holidays. And if you're one of the guests that's coming to visit, you can help by watching this video. So basically, the Guardians are going to set Romeo up for success by exercising him first. I would recommend that you have a sign on that, have your door unlocked, have this door closed and not secure so they can't run around, and have a sign on your window that says, do not knock, do not ring, let yourself in, happy holidays. That knocking, you heard, that's a trigger. So that gets him over. Romeo, come. Sit. Touch. Yes. If I give him a treat when he's barking, I could be rewarding that bark. If I tell him no, that could also reward the bark. So I asked him to do a couple other things and reward him for that instead. So what you saw, that knock got him all revved up. And you can look, I don't know if you can see his tail, but his energy level is higher now. So now he's much more likely to jump because we set him off. If we have that little sign out there and nobody's knocking or ringing the bell, he doesn't have that anticipatory surge of energy. We've also exercised him first, so he doesn't have as much energy. So we did 2 things to set him up for success. So the guest comes in, and Romeo is normally going to be jumping up and spazzing out here. Now, I can give you 2 different ways of doing this. I'm going to really moderate this more for your guests coming over. I have a video on my website, and I'll share it with you guys about how to teach your dog to not to go to the dog bed and not go to the door. It just takes enough. I don't know if you're going to have enough time to get it done before the holiday. So I want to give you guys something so you guys can use for now. You can reference the other video on how to teach them how to do it. So Romeo's normally going to be up here whining and anxious and barking, and you can be back there. I would just have your guests understand when they come in, put your stuff down on your little footstool if you got some food, and we're just going to wait right here. His energy is going to be really high, but he can't maintain it forever. And what eventually is going to happen is he's probably going to be up here. We're going to know his energy goes down. When his energy goes down, you can tell kind of on your own. But as a guest, if he jumps down, that would be an indicator that probably we're making some progress in the direction we want to go. So Romeo, here. Now you could have a little thing here of treats. Ask the guests, if Romeo's up here, Romeo, come here. You want to jump up here? I know you know how to jump up here. Come here. Come here, Romeo. Come here. Sit. Sit. Yes. So if there's a handful of treats here, the guest can come over, stay outside of his range, but if he's a little spazzy, don't say anything. So the guest might come in here and take, I was gonna, just kind of sit in here and just hang out for a second. What we're hoping to do, might even be up for up to a couple of minutes for his energy to abate before we start coming forward. So if he's up here and then he gets down, that would be a good indication we go to the next step, which is what I'm going to show you right now. Romeo, come. Sit. So you ask him to sit. You reach, See, that just that reach got him up. Sit. Yes. Sit. Yes. Sit. Yes.
You're touching the gate?
I'm getting close to it. At this point, I'm not touching the gate yet because he's getting up. So what I would do is, before your guests come over for the holiday, if you can have a guest or somebody come over, and you guys can do this yourself, so you come in and you're behind the fence, so he can't get to you to jump up. And what I want to do is I want to tell him to, Romeo, sit. He sits. I reach a little bit. I pull my arm back. I say yes. Then I reach to the table here and give him a treat. What are we marking? Sitting down at the fence is what you get a treat. Anything else gets nothing. I'm not going to tell him no. I'm not going to push him down. I'm not going to shove. So his options are doing what we want and getting a reward, and doing what he wants and having nothing happen. After a while, he will decide it's more beneficial for me to sit down. Romeo, come. Sit. So what I usually do is, I'm going really fast in this video, but I usually would reach a quarter of the way, pull my arm back, yes, treat. And I would probably repeat that 3 to 5 times. Sit. Then I reach halfway, pull back, yes. And I want you to be compartmentalized. A lot of people get lazy, or not lazy, but they bleed things together. So you go like this. Yes. So what I want to do instead is, if I'm reaching, I pull my arm back, I say yes without reaching. When I completely say yes, then I reach for my treat and deliver it to him. But if I say yes as I'm reaching here, I'm marking me reaching. When we're saying yes, we're saying thank you for sitting. Thank you for staying in a sit. 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 Now I can touch. Pull my hand back, yes. And again, so the steps for this is I would reach a quarter of the way, half the way, 3/4 of the way, and touch. And I do each one of those about 3 to 5 times in a row. And my goal is for him to stay seated. And his energy is going to be coming down while this is happening. So now, sounds are a trigger. The knocking was a trigger. So watch this. So it wasn't the sound, it was the movement. So, Romeo, sit. Yes. Oh, Romeo, sit. So he didn't do what I wanted. So I didn't reward him for that iteration. I asked him to sit again, then I reach, jiggle, yes. So I'm training the dog, like I talked about at the beginning of the video. This is the behavior I want you to do. If you do the behavior I want, you get a reward. If you do anything else, nothing happens. Well, I'd rather have a treat than nothing. Sit. Now the movement is a hard one, so sit. That was not the behavior I wanted, so I didn't reward, I just asked for sit again. I'm using that motion. Yes. Yes. And again, I would repeat this 3 to 5 times. If he gets up like that, that's not in concert with me opening up, so I just ask for sit again. He's just anticipating him coming out. Romeo, sit. Yes, this time he didn't get up for that little movement. Do you normally have people move it in or out when you open the door? You can go either way. Do you guys open it this way or open it that way? Okay. So, yes. Pretty chill, not even paying attention to me. Romeo, sit. Yes. So you're going to continue doing this, opening a little bit more and more. Now when I want to actually come in, I don't want to come in until his energy is closer to this. And they're going to be far less jumping. Now, a lot of times the dog jumps up, we say no. So jumping up gets attention. Now, I have a treat in both hands. And I'm going to open it inward. Well, actually, I guess I have. Sit. Yes. If I'm holding treats down here, this is where his nose is, as opposed to wanting to lick my face and not having treats in my hand. So have them, you might have a little table or something set up so people bring gifts or potluck, they can put that stuff down. They can focus on Romeo and getting him calm. Go ahead, you step back and grab it if you want. This is just a video for you guys and your family. And the idea is, we'll just write it down. So again, they put their stuff down, they work on addressing Romeo, his energy is abated, he's calm, they can come in here, he's not jumping up. And when they come in, they can hold a couple treats in their hands, and they could also just throw a couple on the floor, and he runs away from them, he's getting those. Now, the throwing it can cause a little excitement, so I'd probably have you rather just keep in your hand. So, Romeo, Yes. Yes. And then he licks up the treat. So each person that does this comes in with a treat in their hand when they come to his guest. And there's 4 people. I would have each one of them come through the door separately. So you have 4 practices. Dog training and behavior modification is a numbers game. So we have 20 people that are coming here, and each person goes through this door on their own. And maybe you have 5 people come between now and Christmas to practice this, and every time you guys come through the door, you're doing this, and you're reaching for it. By the time people come over, they're reaching for it, and he's like, yawn. You know, somebody's giving me a treat. And then after each one of these things, if I stay in a sit, I get a treat. And then by the time we actually come in, we've ridden the excitement that is usually 1 to 4 minutes of arrival, and we didn't create an indication of the knocking or all the rest of that stuff to get them all excited. And so we have a much calmer dog. And once the guests have come in and met Romeo and all that, then they can come back here. All the guests they can come to your table and grab their, the goodies or whatever and bring them in, and he's not jumping up on them because we've taught the dog what we want them to do. Now this is just using a barrier and preventing the dog from coming in by a little, what I call a delayed entry. Now the video above this one on my website will actually show you how you can actually make a knock, meaning the dog goes to the, or ringing the doorbell, goes to the dog bed, and how to stay on the dog bed as we walk from the dog bed all the way to the door to open it. Romeo, Romeo, touch. Yes. Sit. Yes. Touch. Yes. So again, if he runs over and I just pet him, I barked and I ran to you and I got a treat. So what I did is I asked him to do some other things and rewarded those things. Now again, that paper in the front of the window will help, and that's a little tip that I went over off camera, covering the bottom part of the window so he doesn't see anything outside. But I want to stay compartmentalized for this. So this, again, what I would do is I would have you guys practice yourselves once or twice a day and see if you have a friend or somebody comes over and practice this. Neighbors are convenient because they can come by real quick. There should be like a 1-minute practice round, 2-minute practice rounds. By the time your guests are coming over, they're watching this video, they know what to do. Romeo's already practiced it. Now we also have Juliet, who right now we have off chewing a bully stick in the background. But if she's free, she's probably going to stay in the background. I'm assuming, is that correct? So we don't have to ignore. We can just ignore her. And if you're one of the guests coming to visit, you should ignore Juliet, especially if she's fearful of you. The more you try to engage with her, the less she's going to want to engage with you. The more that you ignore her, the more comfortable she's going to be. And when she does approach you, hold still. It's going to take her a lot of courage to approach you. So when she approaches you and starts sniffing, don't move at all. Don't talk to her. Don't sneeze. Don't do anything. Wait for her to finish sniffing. Don't pet her. She does not want you to pet her at that point. When she gets done sniffing, then you can ask the guardians, hey, can I get some treats? And then we can have her, when she comes over, we just hold our hand out, just let her have a treat. Try not to pet her at first until if you can ask her, Juliet, you're not Juliet, but sit, yes. Say yes whenever the dogs do things you want, then you can give her a treat. If your guest asks Juliet to sit, and she sits there without backing up 10 feet to sit, at that point, then they can check and see if she wants her to pet them, and then she would do that, Romeo, by doing this. So if she touches their nose, then you can pet her under her chin. If you hold her hand out here and if she turns her head away or doesn't touch you, she's saying, I don't feel comfortable with you touching me yet. And the best thing you can do is not touch her and tell her, I'm listening to what you're saying. That's going to make her more open to having you touch her a little bit later on. Romeo, yeah, you got the sneezes. Come here, buddy. Come here. We'll let you come on out. Come here, Romeo. Sit. Well, this is my buddy Romeo, and these are some tips and tricks you can use if you have a dog that likes to jump up at people at the door.